So this video is going to be showing you the names of people who own things. Names and faces of people who own things. And the most famous people I can think of off the top of my head. Some of these people I've done documentaries on smaller sects of them. But we're just going to run through the first 25 power agents and famous people I can think of. Owner of CNN. See right here we got Jeff Zucker. He's just pay attention. They're all gonna look the same. No, he is the current owner of CNN. The owners of ABC. Right here, James Goldstein's gonna step down. Someone else is coming in. And then we have the owners of CBS. Tried to look for a picture of young Sumner Redstone. He has that Rothschild look to him. But Leslie Moonves over here is one of the current owners, I believe. When I first did my documentaries, he was the one in positions of power. Possibly Sumner Redstone stepped up, and then he died, I believe. And that's a picture of him when he's young. He still has the Rothschild look to him, generally, when he is younger. NBC's owner, Jeff Zucker. Why is it showing that? Anyways, over here you got that dude, that dude, that dude. It pulls up. It's harder to find these days. I have my documentary where I'm like showing you like the previous information, but this information isn't that easy to find. Like, see, right now you look it up, and Google and Wikipedia, owned by both these people. So many I couldn't include. I didn't include Wikipedia. Time constraints. The previous version of this was 30 minutes long. So we barely included anyone. Google's in here. I'll show you them. But I just showed you Google owners yesterday too. But you look this up now, and they don't show you exactly who's in charge right now. And they've been handing things off. It says owner NBC Universal. Okay, and NBC, corporations don't own things. People own corporations. And so we went through that. We're going to start going through just famous people in other positions of power. It's not as organized as it could be. But here's Borat, one of the most famous people ever, obviously. And then his video also kind of like was pro-war over in the Ukraine area. I made videos on this before that war even kicked off in the open, about how that's Khazaria and that's an important landmass. I made several videos on that before that even happened, and now he's over here now where he's at Kazakhstan, telling people how dirty they are and they hate them, and how they hate Zelensky's. He talked about how they hate Zelensky's in his video. And say Zelensky's control things. Yeah, so kind of like pro-war propaganda. In fact, over here we're going to come up on a documentary they made themselves called Hollywoodism, a book and a movie they made where they say they have to hide war campaigns in cartoons. They started that in cartoons in World War II because the FBI told them not to make videos that were pro-war before USA got involved in World War II. So they went to Superman to start to make pro-war propaganda. Step Brothers, famous people in this movie, Will Ferrell, John C. Reilly, look pretty similar, right? And not only that, the rest of the cast there kind of has the same look to them. But definitely Will Ferrell and John C. Riley fit the bill, and they're the people I brought that up for. I didn't even know the other ones. I'm not surprised by it. The creators of South Park, not really too surprised by that. In fact, they make an episode called Canceled, which is been canceled from South Park's or Comedy Central's website because they have all the videos there available for free except for the episode Canceled. The episode Canceled is very telling. It's kind of like a satirical version of the stuff I'm talking about, but they made it themselves and made it a satire. And then it's not there, so you got to go to one of the download sites, one of the whereas pirate sites to watch that if you want to. They're pretty telling in that. Harry Houdini. I've already made a documentary before on the leading magicians of the world, from Jesus all the way up to David Blaine. They are admitted generally the same people, and as you can see, he's got that vampiric. That's where the vampires come from. Their people play those roles, and he has the Rothschild look to him. You see, and you'll see Aleister Crowley. We can assume, but we're going to get to the writer of the Satanic Bible here soon. I didn't include Aleister Crowley because I don't have the information, but pretty much everyone here I'm going to show you has admitted who they are and where they come from. David Blaine admits he actually looks a little bit different. He looks a little more like the Middle Eastern phenotype. He might not be a full Rothschild bloodline, but then again, I mean, these people claim to be from the Middle East originally, right? That's what the wars in the Middle East are about, reclaiming thousands-of-year-old land and stuff. So let's go to some famous bands. I noticed there's always some people in the bands. Well, Hetfield, I don't know what to think about him. He does look like one of my old friends, and that would be one of my only friends who didn't fit the bill here. So that makes me suspicious when I have like one friend in my life who does not fit the bill and other people look like him. But that dude was like trying to get me, talking to me about the opposite stuff, the stuff I'm into now. Back then, people talked to me about and showed me like brutality and stuff. And I was like, I don't want anything to do with it because none of them were explaining to me. And I don't think I would have cared when I was a kid if you told me that a group of people control the world, like I'd just be like, well, hey, whatever. I'm a child. I can't do anything, and I don't care, right? And as I got older, I just decided I'd start doing stuff. But Cliff Burton admits Dave Mustaine admits having the shofar, and he looks. Kirk Hammett definitely looks. Lars kind of has that look, and he's got a different name. He's got a different last name. Sometimes they be inventing last names rather than keeping with the Bergstein Gold type names. Like Stain kind of just comes from Steen. That's very common for it to just be changed. But Cliff Burton admitted he was, and you might argue that Cliff Burton's the most famous person from Metallica. People know a lot about him. And when he died, he became real famous. Obviously, Dave Mustaine has been Friedman, David Ellefson. I mean, the name Dave alone might give it away to some people. They all got kind of similar looks. Not quite the Rothschild look, but they're different. They're more Middle Eastern, or I don't know how to describe it without sounding hateful. Some of them are Romanesque looking, but not quite, like the pictures were shown of who Romans are. There's different, everyone was in Rome. Rome was the capital, enslaving the world and bringing a lot of people together in one place. Supposedly, that's the story that we're told. And then the Columbine shooters, they're famous, right? One definitely looks like him. Hell, I don't even want to tell you who the other one looks like. Might be some people I'm related to. But yeah, definitely that one has that look. And this is one thing I pointed out too. People are always questioning the shootings and stuff like that, and some people, like Alex Jones, who we know is related to the people he talks about on certain levels, or at least his family is. That's the only proof we have is his family below him. Alex Jones and people talk about the school shootings being set up and stuff. So, and then the other dude kind of has like, he's got that Abrahamic type look to him. I have to admit that. That looks like my brother, kind of, or my brother's family, and Pastor Anderson, who also lets me know real fast he looks like my brother. Pastor Anderson actually talks on some of this stuff. That's what he's kind of famous for, is getting a lot of hate for being hateful towards claiming that groups of people are controlling things. Alex Jones, you see here's his son. And in fact, when I pulled this up, we seen his the other dude allowed on TV kind of has a similar look as well. And then the girl who kind of mirrors that dude, I'm talking about the girl like climate change, killing the earth, give us all your money and give the government more money because the government's going to fix things. They're going to stop the climate change they're behind. Anyways, yeah, that's his son. So he had a child with someone who we exposed him, and then they brought him back as like a hero. The same people who exposed him, and then they brought Trump with them and Putin worship as well. Again, just because I run my mouth about the Putin stuff, I'm not totally blind and ignorant to what the facts could possibly be if I do not know them personally. See, that's his wife, Kelly Nichols. Was that her name? That's the ex. And it's hard to tell when they get so out of shape who they really are. A lot of people tend to look the same when they look that way. But we have proof, like admission, right? She actually looks like Baron Rothschild right there, but she's admitted to being from that bloodline. So, yeah, that's Baron Rothschild in the picture where she's wearing the devil horns necklace, and obvious, like very obvious devil horns. That's what she looks like in that picture, pretty much. And BlackRock, the previous owner of BlackRock, I couldn't put anything on. Obviously, this is a spy mercenary group. You're lucky if you can find out anything about them. And here, let's bring up the founders. Look, it looks different than before. It doesn't even show that they had like this really white, blonde, Romanesque looking guy. It doesn't mean anything. Trump's blonde. Some of these other people are blonde. Mallory Majory, blonde. You can see, obvious, possible. It has a British look to him. That doesn't mean anything. I believe UK was one of their stops before they came to USA. They were a high possibility they were running the UK empire. I don't know for how long and for what years, but it's a possibility. I mean, they just went straight there and founded it themselves. And you can see like some of the UK leaders right now, they do look kind of Rothschildish, and they're caught hanging out with the Rothschild. Everyone is. Arnold Schwarzenegger to everyone has been, and we're going to show you Arnold here soon. Has been involved with the Rothschild at some point, and you guys know BlackRock, I believe, is previously AE, which is previously Blackwater, right? So they change their names every 4 years. Foreign spy mercenary group used to destabilize nations and do war tactics that the USA government doesn't want their fingerprints on. And it's probably not always the USA government. In fact, we should be very careful that some of these groups don't work for other nations that we might think are our allies and things as well. But That's the new guy who's in charge. Looks a little bit different than the last. That's founders and still present. I guess it's saying founders and still present. So the one guy's gone, who they previously used to have on the face of it. Or I would have did a video on that specifically. Bruce Lee, he's real famous. China didn't want him in China and him to be famous. They said because he was an outsider. And so the story would have you think that Bruce Lee is German and Chinese, yet Bruce Lee's lineage is actually something that's not originally from German, and Germans didn't want in Germany, supposedly, at one point. I don't know what happened there. That looked real confused. They worked with the UK to kind of help people move to the Middle East on land that wasn't theirs. So, Bruce Lee, he's famous and he admits to being part of that. And you can't really tell sometimes the mixtures, like Chew of TikTok. We can't tell. If you look into the names, they say they have mixed into the Asians, and they give you the specific last names. And Lee is one of those last names, but this is admitted in some documents, some stories on him. And obviously he's not alive anymore, so we can't really confirm anything he's ever said. It was before the age of ambush journalism and full discovery. And anyways, so he got famous, and he admits to being part of them. Hollywoodism, that will tell you something. That'll tell you a lot. Over here we got the people, the founders, kind of got those evil satanic vibes to them. Anton LaVey, the Harry Houdini, stuff like that. Again, that's like also a semi-Rothschild look. And then the rest, Groucho Marx obviously is one of them. And that producer looks like Marx, and that kind of looks like, hell, that dude looks like Hitler, who did not have blonde hair and blue eyes. So Hitler must have thought he wasn't the master race. But anyways, those are starters. And this documentary called Hollywoodism, there's a book and a movie, and that'll tell you a lot of stuff. It's written by them, right? So that is what it is. The BLM leaders, the most famous BLM leader is probably this one right here. And they're putting her in the middle of most of the pictures. Looks like Whoopi Goldberg, and is admitted. Rudy Giuliani, very famous, obviously. The Rothschild look to him. The Mr. Burns look to him. Seinfeld, pretty much the whole cast here. I mean, we have Kramer admitting to it, obviously Seinfeld, and another two. Some of the most famous people there in the nation. Looking like it. They're all tied into it. Owner of MySpace. Well, he looks pretty close. Me on a personal level, he looks like people I know who have been in my life. So that is where it is. And look, it just happens to include Alice Cooper down there. So many people I couldn't include. And Kushner has that weird smile some of them be giving off to me, that shady smile. But let's avoid Kushner because I don't know his past. We're at MySpace, and I do believe that's been admitted because I just included that stuff a long time ago. Owners of Google obviously have that look. They got that Middle Eastern Romanesque type look to them. Again, looks like Jeffrey Epstein, the one does. And kind of, they both do. They look kind of related on their own, don't they, right? And even the new guy they brought in doesn't look fully India. It's hard to tell with people with glasses, but supposedly they wear glasses because their genetics are sometimes susceptible to diseases and conditions in the human race. So I began paranoid about the glasses thing. But a lot of times someone just put on glasses and they look like a totally different person. I don't know his full background. I do know that some of these other India gurus, definitely. And I do know South America was ran by them. Their largest star on TV was one of them. Didn't include him. Marjorie Taylor Greene. There we go. Spot on. One of the phenotypes. There's about 7 phenotypes for every human. There's about 7 templates for each group of humans out there. So we have the Rothschild, the Romanesque type looking thing. This one is one of the phenotypes. Trump, some people I know go with have this look. But generally, I see about 7 phenotypes in each of the races. And that is probably like the third most famous one. And it's kind of different. You can't see it. It's really hard to see with the, like I said, it's really hard to see with the blonde hair like Trump. It's just kind of that easy sometimes to not look the same as the rest of the Rothschild or related people. She's got that. This phenotype has the rounder outer jaw that I was saying in my Google video, Google Epstein video, that they do not have. But I said that's a common feature, and so just this look in general, it's kind of easy to see if you know what you're looking for. This one is probably one of the harder ones to see when they have that look. Like Donald Trump is, he's doing a good job of presenting himself, or it's just this other phenotype here of the creation. Anton LaVey, right here, is what he looked like before his shaved head. And he also changed his name. His name used to be Howard Levy, so that's pretty obvious. But he also talks about in his autobiography how he ran guns. USA confiscated guns from World War II, and he would take those guns and sell them to Israel. So he ran guns for Israel. Now, someone argued with me once that he's making stuff up. This dude is literally the leader of modern subculture. He doesn't have to make stuff up. Okay? He can do what he wants. I mean, he can't do too much anymore, but obviously he could do what he wants. I'm sure he was involved. I've been involved in all sorts of stuff in my life. If I was ever, I have been to some high positions and been around some high people, but I was involved in stuff longer before I was a child, when I was like running money and stuff. I don't know what for. I didn't want to. I was smart enough to know we don't ask what we're running money for. And why you need someone like me. I guess people have always hired me to do bodyguard work, even when I was a kid. People thought I was a good bodyguard. That's good. That's good thinking there. But makes me money. Anyways, there we go. That's his look. I'm sure he's involved in a lot. He's the leader of modern subculture. That's that. He wrote the Satanic Bible. He's like Jesus to non-Jesus people. There's Einstein too. We're going to get to him, but there's kind of like three. There's religion. There's anti-religion, and there's anti that religion, and then there's anti-religion, and it looks like they control all of it. We're going to get there soon. So let's go ahead and skip ahead here. Joel Osteen, the leader of the modern Christians. You also have over here in my city, we've got I can't think of his name. We got another dude, but Joel Osteen, really, he takes the Rothschild cake, right? And his other friend too. They both look like they've had heavy plastic surgery and stuff. His has turned out well. The other preachers did not turn out very well. And then the other dude that Rod Parsley, he's from my city. He's a very famous guy, and he has the same look to him. And of course, Jesus is in the Bible. Jesus is the king of these people too. I mean, If this world's really a manifestation of the mind and the humans can interact as well, and it's not just certain ones of us who have the power to manifest and create, then giving them your power in any form is probably how they help obtain so much power. But I don't believe that's the full story. Just because I can manifest and create, I don't believe that everything here has that full power, and I don't understand the full definition and rules of the manifestation and creation, although I do understand it is happening. So, Lex Wexner, we have this dude. You can see right there, he's with Jeffrey Epstein. Okay, so this dude runs my city. He's got the Rothschild look. He's got the Popish look, because the Pope, you know what I'm saying? The Pope, Black Papacy, all that stuff. And this dude, he runs Victoria's Secret. I think he's just sold that. But he created that. He created Express, Limited, Gap. It's all here in my city. He runs this city pretty much behind the scenes. His name's on many of the most popular buildings here. He's funded a lot of them. And he also runs a thing called the War Room. Most people probably don't know about that. They make decisions about global wars and stuff. He sold Jeffrey Epstein his mansion. So either he works with Epstein or he's above Epstein. But I believe Epstein is probably above Netanyahu. Epstein's ability and knowledge he could have manipulated the system to the point where he had more control than leaders of the nations he worked for. If not, he had the most valuable information to all them, everyone who is anyone on tape with children, the most powerful information in the world, unfortunately. And so that's him. That's Lex Wexner. Like I said, Victoria's Secret, that's where that comes from. Pink thing on all the girls. They're wearing Epstein's friend's stuff when they wear the pink thing. Interesting, isn't it? Jerry Springer. You know, one of the most famous people. If you're from the 90s, if you've grown up in the 90s, you know who Springer is. Everyone watched that. Most famous person on TV in the 90s. Also, former mayor of Cincinnati. So not only that, he works for the government. I mean, they're all kind of semi-working for the government. Mark Zuckerberg. There we go. A lot of people have made the comments that he looks like an alien and stuff, right? Well, technically, he has that Majorie Green look. He just doesn't have long hair. He doesn't have the blonde hair. So it brings out like a different type look. But yes, some of them, like the Rothschilds, might have this alien type look to them. Elon Musk could be said to have that type of look. Bill Gates could be said to have that type of look. Like I said, I believe in my studies there's about 7 human phenotypes of each group. And so, you know, I look like an alien when I was a child as well. So, you know, not insulting people, and, you know, other people are the ones focusing on he looks like an alien, and I'm focusing on he looks like, you know, the other people, how are they in the positions of power and stuff. And why are they so upset and trying to worry about me when I start talking about them? Anyways, we got this whole list and it brings them all up. Warren Buffett, we can't really think about that. Larry Ellison. Ellison definitely sounds like a Elliot type related name. And Buffett actually does sound like one of those names, but we can't really tell about Buffett because he's got one of those looks you can't really distinguish, especially older people. They all kind of look the same. I'm racist against old people. They all look the same. Anyways, Carl Sagan. There we go. He's got the kind of alien look to him. But he also has that look to him, the Google look, looking like the Google. Bill Nye has those looks too, and but I can't figure information on him. Now the rest of them, anyone here I'm going through, pretty much all of them, if I'm mentioning them, I've studied their backgrounds. So there's been admissions, unless they just look straight like it, and then it's really hard to tell. Einstein. There we go. So that's what he looked like before he got his hair. He looked like Harry Houdini without the psycho satanic dark, mysterious look to him. Yep. And so the religions and anti-religions being ran by the same people. And, right? You telling me these people aren't related? I mean, they're telling me they're related in many cases. DeSantis admits he's half Cuban and half Rothschildian. He doesn't use the word Rothschild. Most of these people do not use the word Rothschild. The word Rothschild is only celebrated in Israel once a year, or 1 week in a year, because they have a national holiday for the Rothschild there. But DeSantis, look, another candidate running. Another guy pushed forward as like the savior. He is right up there, and he is admitted to that. And he has that look. Oddly, it looks like my uncle. I'm telling you, man. Maybe I know so much because I'm supposed to. I'm sure I didn't get all this information for no reason. A lot of things in my life have been pushed upon me. In fact, I shouldn't even cry about like how my life's been like kind of wrecked from how I want it to be, because it could end up me being something far more valuable to the world than just like the best musician the world has ever seen or something like that. Besides that, if I'm creating music with my mind, like I already am a famous musician. People just don't know me. I'm not famous like that. Now there we got the Rothschild. Obviously, this is where the Simpsons took the Burns dude from. Some of the Rothschild don't look like that, but they say some of the older looks come from the heavily interbred. Oh man, when it reloaded, it brought back it changed the layout of the picture. So here, it's the current younger Rothschild people might know, but he still kind of stays hidden. Alex Jones had arguments with him, and he actually made Alex Jones. He sounded very sane compared to Alex Jones. I'm not trying to just attack people, so I gotta try to be honest here. If someone seems too negative, or whether they actually sound like they're being positive. Unfortunately, I try to remain that way. And here is Baron Rothschild, an early Rothschild, possibly around the time that they started interbreeding. He didn't quite look like that. But then again, it's only that one Rothschild, and he could very well just not be maintaining his looks and caring about his looks as much. But that is where that General Smithers, Mr. Burns look comes from. Smithers look is kind of like one of the other phenotypes who work for the Rothschild. And right here we have him hanging out with Kissinger, who fits that bill too. Here we have Jean-Claude Van Damme. My research, one of his wives, I don't know which one here, the one he had kids with, has admitted to being involved in it. And this is pretty common because this happens with pretty much every ultra famous person you know. They either are them, like Stallone looks very much, and Arnold married into it. Now, Arnold could have been from the start. I don't know anything about Arnold's lineage. I don't think anyone really does. but he definitely looks different. He has a more traditional Romanesque look to him. But I can't say for sure about him. But I do know Maria Shriver, who he had children with, has admitted to it. And I think that would be an earlier picture of her. Yeah, obviously I put Maria Shriver in there. They all are. So she's dyeing her hair right there and changing. And she has that, that look to her. But she's admitted, right? Like I said, most of these people I'm going through, these are admissions. People with admissions to their the links to the so-called Rothschilds. Remember, the word Rothschild, Illuminati, all that stuff is used by people who are pointing something out or trying to misdirect you to something else, because you can't say the other stuff, and then they do a good job of misdirecting you. You're like, there's no Illuminati. The Rothschild don't own everything. I mean, that's kind of hard to say because the Rothschild really do run about with everyone. But yeah, there is no Illuminati. There's no Freemasons and all this stuff. And like, well, they're not talking about the Illuminati and Freemasons. They're talking about something else. I mean, even the Bible says that someone got hung on a cross because they were going around talking about it. That's kind of the summary of what happened in the Bible. Is they came looking for him because he was going around talking about them and tossing their banks about and stuff like that. Which, speaking of banks, Federal Reserve, Janet Yellen, Ben Bernanke, and probably the very start of the Federal Reserve as well, because it's the banker thing. Look on the dollar bill. You've got the Illuminati pyramid that says Novus Ordo Seclorum on the bill. So that's been there for a minute. Obviously, it's not always been there. They claim they took it over with the Federal Reserve and all that stuff. And sometimes I like to be positive and think that they know what they're doing and they can help people out and stuff. And hey, some days I get tired of being concerned with some of this bad stuff happening. Anyways, Marilyn Monroe. Right here. Is that Arthur who? Arthur Miller. Okay, interesting. I've got some Millers in my family too. I wonder if that's the name they took or not. But Arthur Miller admitted, Hollywood producer and all that, obviously because Hollywood. They admit to that in their own books and documentaries and stuff. I'm just recovering a lot of what they say these days. Trying to be nicer about it than I have been in the past. And Joe DiMaggio looks a lot like him. Obviously, the name Joseph's in the Bible. My friend Joe has an ex. I get a lot of Joe friends, don't I? Oddly, some of them are the same. That's when I started seeing the clones, and I asked for that to happen right before it happened too. So odd. Some of this stuff changed too when I started talking about it. A few last doors were shut on the media control. But anyways, if I were inventing it, then I know what I'm talking about then, right? But she's married, I believe had a child. And then the other ones look just as suspect too. Joe DiMaggio looks pretty suspect there. But definitely Arthur, he runs Hollywood, right? You got Weinstein. Bernie Sanders, they're very obvious. Very obvious. He's got that look to him, like he's related to the others. And he was actually confronted about Zionist control by, he was at a rally, and this West African American dude speaks and asks, what about the Zionist control of America? And he's like, no, that's not what's happening. And it's like, oh, well, you're a gatekeeper, aren't you? Like, you're... Obviously, I mean, he's the most obvious one of them all. Sadly, because, a lot of good people like what he says. He says some pretty good ideas that if they worked, they'd be good things in the world. Mayor Mike DeWine, this is who runs my city. He has that Rothschild, and look to him. Now, he works under Jeffrey Epstein's friend, Wexner. Most people in the city work under Wexner. I've worked under these people. My family's worked with these people. My dad always would talk about how great it was to work with Lex Wexner and all that. I wonder what he really seen. But I mean, because that's where all the money is. He literally built a city. I mean, he didn't just build this big at 13th largest city in Columbus. He didn't build all that, but he built like the suburb, the fancy suburb outside of it. It's pretty much called his city. And this city, 13th largest in the United States, his name's on everything. And of course, he is one of the donors to him. But I didn't need that information to understand that he was. I didn't need to read the donors list to know, but obviously I can read the list, so I did. But Mike DeWine is definitely very Rothschildian looking. Okay, it's very easy to see. Not everyone looks like these people. It should be easy to see. You see it enough times. Now here we have Trump's family. Let's exclude Melania. We don't know where she comes from. Oddly, somewhere in the Ukraine type area, but let's just completely exclude her for now. And let's look at Kushner. Well, that's admitted. So at least Kushner's married into and with Ivanka and had a Rothschild wedding. And these, okay, so now they would be together, right? I forget whether it was these two or these two. They had the Rothschild wedding. But they didn't have they had a traditional Kabbalistic or Jewish wedding or something like that. So like they openly had that. So that one admitted. And then the rest of the family looks similar. Now, Ivanka does not, right? In fact, he does not necessarily, unless you want to say he's got the Rothschild look. And that one does not. But she could have, one thing I just realized is she could have had botched plastic surgery because this one is definitely had plastic surgery when she was 16. She looks like a different person in her young photos, her older photos, her middle-aged photos, because the plastic surgery fades away, so she doesn't look like this anymore. She's kind of reverted to her old thing now. She had her nose shaved down, which I believe she and Chelsea Clinton both did when they were children. Then the nose obviously is not going to like just super grow back and stuff, but the rest of it, some of the facial features have definitely returned, and you can see it in the child here that's already there in place before Kushner came in with his 666 building and all that stuff, right? In New York. You can just kind of see these links. It's real easy, but at least Kushner, like we know, that's admitted and stuff. And, when people like Donald Trump and Alex Jones say the swamp and New World Order and Illuminati, like, obviously, I've got to see it as a misdirection because that word means something else, and people are using those words just because they don't say the other stuff. I mean, if everyone said that, then they'd come out, but and they just have to fire everyone and get rid of everyone, and then they couldn't do that, but they don't. A lot of times, probably because it's gatekeepers, like Alex Jones himself said. He was on camera when one of his guests back in like the 90s or the early 2000s said that who really owns stuff, and he's like yeah, but we can't talk about them. And then he marries into it, and I mean, he was already working for him. He was already selling gold and working on their GCN radio network and having them sell gold on his channel. So, yeah. Jeffrey Epstein, obviously. And, yep. Barack Obama's mom. Now, I believe I did not find admissions, but if you educate yourself on this enough, these pictures are enough to show you, especially like this one, that one, that one. This one is very obvious that and it all makes sense when you start to see. It's kind of like the same thing all tied in together and stuff, right? When you see it's all in the same position. And also when there's the story of Purim, the story of Esther, that is a method that they've said they use, is to marry into the ruling families, which isn't very uncommon. That's just, people do that. Like the Asians do that. It used to be you just told your children who they were marrying to and you tried to get them into the best they could. But taking over nations and stuff is like a high profile job that apparently not everyone else is willing to be involved in. And so sometimes you just simply overlook the fact that that's been done for thousands of years. Elon Musk's dad. Now, I believe his mom also has admitted something recently. And Elon Musk actually made a video saying he doesn't like his dad very much. Was it a whole documentary he made on it? But you can see he's got the same look as the other people who already control everything, right? So I'm not making this up unless I'm controlling the media in the world and I'm inventing it. And that's the storyline. That's the storyline. And we should stick with the storyline and not rewrite history. In the past, too many times, they've definitely told me that, not to rewrite too many things. Stick with something, make it concrete. And I do believe that May Musk has admitted recently, she looks like my ex, who worked in Hollywood and knew all the rich people in my city and worked with them, like just waltzes into town and works with second richest family. I mean, I'm kind of used to that, but I was definitely very suspect. And then her family is also one of the most famous, or is the most famous ventriloquist. You've all heard of him. But I can't prove who their family was just because they came into my life, and most of the other people in my life all seem to be the same, and blah, 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 blah. I can only tell you, a few insider things about how the world works from not only studying it from the outside, but, kind of being around it somewhat and being around people who actually did run it and stuff. But I do believe May Musk has recently also confirmed. And not only that, Elon Musk said, not only do we just assume since he looks related, his dad looks like Rothschild, not only do we assume that, but Elon Musk himself said, I don't know why, but my father sent me to a Hebrew school when I was young. Well, I know why, Elon Musk. Like, does he really not know? Do these people really not know? It's actually written in the books that that some of these people don't know who they are. And it's weird because I just assume that they're lying to me and they're playing games and stuff. But when I go out protesting, like I like gather crowds of these people in specific. I just assume they're trying to ambush me and get in my way as a planned effort. But they seem interested in my education, and hell, sometimes they end up working for me, like the children in the one video. They were surrounding me and trying to get me to fight them and stuff, and I was like, you're working for me right now because I didn't have to go crash the event. Instead, I just went to the event and hung out with my signs and my paperwork and stuff and checked out the event, and the kids attacking me made everyone come to me and watch what I was doing because I wasn't there yelling and screaming and stuff and trying to, disrupt the event so much. And then they went and they protested one of the leaders there. Um, oh, one of the leaders, I would have told him to go protest. So I was like, yeah, hey, remember I told you you're working for me? It's kind of odd how that works sometimes. Really, some of these things do play out like that. But anyways, this is a list of people. I can show you more too if you want. There's a whole bunch more. But that's like what the most famous people we all know, isn't it?